often do you spread wood chips now? I heard someone ask you, but I didn't.
What is so cool about this is that over time, as your soil keeps improving, you have to use less and less and less. This is what I'm so loving about it. When I first came, they were breaking down so quick because the soil was hungry.
Right.
But now it's just, when I get around to it, it's okay. If I don't, it's still okay. It's
So,
so.
like once a year, if you.
In my garden space, I'm using screen wood chips, and I cover half of it every 2 years. Every other year, I put a cover on, and I'm just putting like an inch and a half, 2 inches, not much.
Oh,
Just
you only have to do 4 inches the one time.
it's just again, everything is composting, breaks down, so I'm just supporting it, maintaining it.
What about in the orchard?
In the orchard, well, it's amazing how long it's been since I put anything in here. It's been a long time.
Well, we've done it recently. What we do now, honestly, in the orchard is a nice thin top coat for weed prevention because it will decompose, and expose the weeds again. So
Right.
restore the covering. But honestly, this was put on this last year. But honestly, I only put
Not much.
Like last
3
fall.
inches.
And before that,
Yeah,
it
we had a
was
low
what,
year
like
in
20
this
years
one.
or something?
Well, it's been. Well,
When you first put it down?
I did this 42 years ago. Was the first initial, and then I had access to a lot of wood chips, and I put the stuff 16 inches deep around all my trees. It was awesome, and that last 16.
Wow.
It's like I raised the floor, man. It was like a platform. And it took a while for that to break down, but that was really cool. That was really a great resource.
And he's right. We've raised the floor so much the way he's pruning these trees. We started getting to the point where I couldn't keep adding so much because it was just going to be on the ground.
Right.
So I
Right.
think that's one of the motivators to keep it so thin too.
Yeah, see, many of my tree branches are laying right on the ground. Because the weight of the fruit just keeps pulling them down.
So the fungus doesn't affect the fruit? Because I know, like,
No, it's
I
totally.
come from Wenatchee, where if the apple hits the ground, you can't use it because a fungus that lives in the dirt gets on it
That's because it's dirt.
instead of.
It's not wood chips. Yeah, and the reason why you have
That's what I was checking.
and the reason why you have fungus is because it's all chemically fertilized. They use tons of spray. That's the most toxic environment on the planet. Is what they're growing fruit in over there. I had a young guy come here on an orchard. He was 9 years old, and he says, "I'm allergic to apples. I can't eat apples." I says, "No, you're not. You're allergic to all the pesticides and sprays they're using, not the apple." He says, "Why are you hearing all the apples you want?" Well, you don't understand. I swear. I says, "I hear you. It's not you. It's the apple." So these people are eating my Connie apples. I can't believe the aroma. This is so the kid just couldn't take it more. So he took an apple, and started eating it. He started yelling, "I'm not reacting. I'm allergic to apple." I says, "No, I told you you weren't. Nothing's wrong with you. It's the apple that's wrong, and your body is reacting to all the poisons." Yeah, I had a woman come next week from upstate New York. Same thing. I'm allergic to apples. She ate three apples back to back with no reaction because she's not allergic. The apples are fine. The stuff in the store isn't.
So then, if you're starting the garden from dirt, what is your first amount that,
If you're going to do a garden, because initially you have to access the soil to plant your seeds in.
Right.
So 4 to 6 inches because you got to pull back to access the soil. And then as your plants grow up, then you move the wood chips back to cover the ground around them, and you're fine.
Paul, are you still using chicken manure or anything on your garden?
No. I have my chickens. They create compost, and I spread it out, but I'm just using wood chips now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
The small.
I screen them.
Yeah,
You'll see when we get to the garden over here.
Okay.
That it's all really black stuff because I screen. Here's something: as you get older, you guys can relate to this. You start looking at. Oh, I'm just being real. I've known these guys for like. How old's your daughter?
31.
Okay, I remember she came. My
32 years.
30. Yeah, and my wife delivered that baby here, and so I remember her. So we've known them for decades.
For my babies.
Yeah, and you guys, you've seen my property. You've seen the conditions in town. You know what's happened here.
Yes.
So they've seen some history here. But well, I'm trying to get back to your question now. Yeah.
The filtered.
Here's the thing that was interesting about the screen. You see, when I screen material, I have really fine stuff, so I don't have to pull it back. I can plant directly in it.
Right.
And it's so convenient. It's make a groove with my rake, and so it's just as you get older, you keep making things easier for yourself. And so I just screen it and put the heavy stuff out in the orchard, or I go to a place that already has a screen and just buy that.
So when you've gotten a pile and you screen that as you.
Well, I'll get my truck, and I'll have basically a product called hardware cloth,
Yeah.
and you get, it comes 30 inches. So you get a 30-inch piece, put a wood frame, put it in a wheelbarrow, 30 inches, and screen. And the stuff in the wheelbarrow, all screen, is stuff out in your garden.
Well, that's what you used to do with the chicken
Yeah.
yard. But now you're doing
Now,
it with
now they've got over at Cascade. They got these huge machines and screens. So I can get a yard for $30. So it's just so much easier. Just load load my truck and
just drive.
yeah, drive in and load it, unload it, and they have Nick help me unload it. So it's just again, as you get older,
I know.
you just start using convenience, and it's just so nice, just, and you'll see the stuff in my garden, and again, it's just so beautiful. All I do is just take a rake and make a little groove in that stuff and
Yeah, I
plant
know.
seeds, and
I've watched you.
it makes it so much easier, and then have to pull it all back and move it, and so it's just,
So after a year or two, you can plant right in the top.
well, that compost and stuff you can plant to immediately because it's broken down.
So
And
we
that's
have
green.
really thick or big. Could we put the screen stuff on top
Yeah.
of that
Mhm.
and do
And
it
you're
that
good.
way?
Yeah,
Because it's probably that deep. in
it's no
some-
problem. Yeah, put that on top, it's planting it, and the roots will go right down and all that good stuff and be fine.
Okay.
And the great thing, the reason why too is like the screen chicken stuff.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of seeds.
Yeah,
so we're
that's
planting
what I
a bunch
was
of weeds. Yeah. But what's great about this screen stuff he buys is it's tub ground. It sits for a while.
It's aged.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
aged, no more seeds, and it's not drawing so much nitrogen.
And it's you know why it's black? Because in those piles it got really hot,
Okay.
really hot, and so that heat killed everything.
So you're not composting here.
No. I mean, I throw all my yard waste to the chickens and they compost it there, and
Right, right.
I got to take it out because my fence is getting too low, But otherwise, I just get that good compost with wood chips because it's just the best.
And if you did want to use your chicken pen stuff, you could pile it and let that decompose.
Yeah,
and
right.
You won't have the weed issue.
Okay, but you do put. You can't just I put down the stuff this spring. So when would I use compost? I put down the wood chips this spring.
Just whatever you want to use in your garden, you put on top. Just put over the wood chips.
Okay, so if I want.
If you look in nature, again, nature, all it does is layer.
Right.
You think about that. It's never mixed. It's never dug in. It's just layered. And we keep thinking we got to do something. We got to mix it. We got to dig it in. And it's like, it's so crazy. How we just work so hard to fail.
So if you put fertilizer on, it'll work its own way down.
Yeah, gravity
It
works.
doesn't really matter.
Gravity works. It's totally effective. Everything goes down.
I'm just looking for the starter parts though. So this year I pushed everything back and planted in the
Dirt.
soil.
Good, yeah. And so
Yeah,
as
but
the plants,
they're not doing that well.
well, because your soil's not good.
Yeah.
But as they start growing, if you move this around in water, you'll see the plants will improve.
I'm
So-
hoping to see that.
Well, you will, because you see that's just breaking down, and the water going through creates compost tea. See, what people don't realize is plants are only taking in water. They don't eat soil. All they take in is water. So as your water is nutrient dense with compost tea, that's what they're eating. So you want to create an environment where your watering is loaded with nutrients.
So you can't just push the wood chips back over though. You have to give them room to start and then.
Yeah, because roots chips are not a growing medium. They're a support to the soil.
Right.
So roots have to be in soil. They need to get into the soil. Once they're in the soil, then the wood chips will feed that soil.
Right.
And
But I gotta let the plant come up first. I can't
Yeah.
just plant the seeds and then cover it. I have to.
And I will say, like, a great use for your chicken manure, if you've got seeds in it, is to layer that on your bare soil, and then put your screen or wood chips on top of that. So you've got that nitrogen supply there, and won't let the weeds come through, those wood chips on top. And you can plant in that nitrogen-rich amendment to your already existing soil. That's what I've done in the past. I've even done this in Venice Beach.
Okay,
on
so you
salted
plant
sand.
in the stuff that's on top.
Yes, like say this is your bare soil down here. You would bring in your chicken manure of some kind, nitrogen supplement,
Right.
and then bring your wood chip on top of that.
Cover
Right.
it.
So that when you do plant, you pull back to that nice
Yes.
nitrogen-rich spot. Like I said, I did this in Venice Beach on salty
Right.
sand, and it's like it works. It's
And,
amazing.
and I did do that. They're just struggling, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm not keeping them wet enough. Or...
What's this like?
I don't
is
think
it
there's any fertilizer in it.
No, yeah, there is.
are they yellowing or like?
Well, I have bugs that are coming and eating them.
Well, because
And-
the bugs are telling you it's either dehydrated or not well.
They're probably dehydrated.
Yeah. Water is a big deal, you know, but this is what I'm so loving about this. This stuff holds water like a sponge, man. It's just awesome. You know?
So you never water your garden.
This orchard, I water the garden up front, but this orchard, for 42 years, I've never watered, ever, and we've had major droughts. You see my sequoia trees here? I had the most interesting encounter with God with those one year. I planted them 22 years ago, 6-inch starts. You remember when they weren't here?
I do.
Yeah. Look at the size of them.
I know, they're giant.
Yeah. And so
Amazing.
I planted them 6-inch starts, and I covered with wood chips. One year, about 4 years into it, we had this major drought. We're talking like really. And I'm watching the interior needles turning yellow. I'm saying, God, I gotta water his. And he says, don't you dare water. Like he was like loud. Wow. Don't water your trees. He says, well, they're turning brown. I said, look at the tips. Well, the tips are bright green. I said, that's new growth. The tips indicate the health of the tree. If your tips are dying back, it's over. The interior needles is not a problem. Says, okay. And it's getting worse. I says, God, you sure? I said, don't water. Please listen to me. So we get this fall. A good wind came in. I look at the ground, and the tree, it's got covered with this incredible covering of needles. I look at the trees. They didn't look like anything came out. They were fine. And what he told me was, he says, those trees are preparing themselves for upcoming droughts. And if you watered and they hadn't put down that cover, they wouldn't have been as well supported to hold the moisture for upcoming droughts. And I thought, wow, God.
Yeah, because the roots were going down.
Yeah, and again, that cover was preparing for upcoming droughts to hold more moisture. And the tree was doing it for survival. And again, I keep coming back to this thing in nature is so genius. This creator didn't miss anything. Everything's built in for optimum health. And when I try to change it, help it out, I mess it up big time. Yeah.
We overthink it.
Yeah, we do, you know. And again, it's just, I love it. And see, the covering is so powerful. And this is what I'm so enjoying about the effect it's had on these trees. It's just, look at the color of that foliage. I mean, with chemical fertilizers, you never get anything close. And I don't do anything. This is what's awesome. I've done nothing. Nothing at all. This is
water the garden.
Yeah, because basically when I'm planting seeds in the summertime, so I plant my seeds a 1/4 inch deep. Here's again the stupidity of what you're told. All of you have bought seed packages, and they say on every one of them, do not plant until after the last frost. They tell you then they tell you to plant them 1.5 inches deep.
Right.
If you look in nature, the Creator never plants his seeds. He lays them on the ground in the fall, then he sends a severe winter with snow and ice and everything else that they go through, talking about the last frost. And then the seeds come up long before the last frost, and they're okay when the frost happens. Because they're well, they're strong. The whole issue is health, and that's what they're not addressing. They're not addressing health. When you're in good health, you totally overcome. I have an apricot tree in Sequim. Apricots here bloom in March, and we always get frost in April. Everybody tells you, oh, we had a frost, you're not going to get any apricots. We'll see. Every year I get apricots because that tree's strong. And the frost didn't hurt it. It didn't hurt it. It's okay. And so I'm so getting from experience and watching that the issue is health. That's what you want to focus on. Not the disease. Health. Get it well and the disease leaves. It can't live there. It's so fun. Okay, so head on over there and get some strawberries. Where's Nick?
Thank you.
And then we'll come on. I'll meet you down. I walk slow, so.
If anybody needs an umbrella.
Well, that's all I have for this video. Bang around that bell icon if you want to be notified when new videos come out. Call us on the hotline if you have comments or questions and want to be featured in an upcoming video. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe. Check us out on the website, and we'll see you guys on the next one.